Um, okay, so welcome to our session. I am Tanya Rohrbach. I'm the Community Planning Manager at New Jersey Future. I worked on creating an action in the Sustainable Jersey program with Heasly, who is the Program Manager of Policy and Planning at Sustainable Jersey, and a few other partners. And maybe joining us, I'm not sure if I saw her in the session, but she may be here as well. So we developed, this we partnered to develop basically what is kind of like an on-ramp mechanism for municipalities to be able to start to embed age-friendly principles into their decisions and their designs that are pertaining to land use and associated programs or facilities. So in terms of logistics, I'll run through a little presentation, and then folks can, have questions through the chat, or just kind of raising a hand, or just asking questions. So we'll start off by saying a little bit about what Sustainable Jersey is, because what I'm going to talk about is a program through Sustainable Jersey, which is a recognition program that incentivizes. All right, so I am with New Jersey Future, and New Jersey Future and Sustainable Jersey and some other partners developed a action for municipalities to be able to embed age-friendly policies and planning into what they are doing. So a little bit about Sustainable Jersey. First, as a program, and Heasly, who may be here with us, is from Sustainable Jersey and worked on this project and action with me. But Sustainable Jersey is an incentive program for municipalities. So the target is to municipalities to practice good governance and implement actions to benefit environmental and social health in their communities. So the way that it works is that the municipality designates what is called a green team, usually through municipal ordinance, and the green team completes actions in the program, and the actions are kind of laid out and specified by Sustainable Jersey. And then by doing that, the community or the municipality earns points. So the town not only gets recognized for its achievements in accomplishing these actions, but that also helps it to become eligible for more grants or funding, or more competitive for grants and funding opportunities. Some of them offered through Sustainable Jersey, but otherwise as well. And it also helps to, one of the goals is good governance and good practice. So it also helps to sort of educate and inform municipalities and decision makers about, kind of how to improve their communities, and also the general public or volunteers who are involved in the program as well. The actions that are in the Sustainable Jersey program are developed based on best practices and guidance. So the new community design for all ages action is based on the best practice guidance that was developed by New Jersey Future, which is a community guide to implementing age-friendly land use in New Jersey. So the guide and the action are both handouts in this fair, so hopefully you can access those, but if not, I can get those links to you. So I just want to take a moment to recognize the success of the Sustainable Jersey program, because it is really impactful for kind of getting things moving at the local level and implementing local action. And just to kind of point out how many municipalities participate in the program. So, over 82% of municipalities participate in the program, and that's, encompassing over 90% of the population of the state. So it's not an insignificant program in New Jersey, but it's also nationally known and looked at as a model for other places and regions and types of programs to incentivize action. So it really has been in New Jersey instrumental in so many municipalities taking meaningful actions to improve their communities in various ways. So there's a whole sort of suite of actions and action categories. The community design for all ages action is in the land use and transportation category. So that focuses, and the action and that category generally focus on the power that lies in local government. So what can local governments in New Jersey do in terms of making changes? So this list here just shows a couple of the mechanisms or the main mechanisms that municipalities have for enacting change. So one is to adopt a resolution, which is largely a statement as a support for change. So making a commitment in terms of an expression of the need for change. And so that is used in the community design for all ages action. The other thing municipalities do is have a master plan. So most municipalities do have what's called a comprehensive plan, a master plan. They also have design guidelines. So again, this is, doesn't have regulatory enforcement. It's not a law, but it does, provide a commitment, expression of commitment of the need for change, and also lays out how that might be undertaken in a given community. And it serves as the vision and the guiding framing and document for the community and all the decisions that are made. So municipalities need to do things that are consistent with their master plan. So it really is a very important mechanism for determining what the form and kind of access looks like in a community. Next is zoning code. So this is regulatory. This does have enforcement. So this is things like ordinance in terms of where development can occur, what type of development it can be, what the density or how much development is. Could also be things that are determining other kinds of features like environmental features, for example, tree ordinances or floodplain development, things like that. So this is also used in the community design for all ages action to be able to have some broader impacts across the community. Another thing that municipalities can do is they have procurement power, so they can lead by example by using their purchasing power to make change. This isn't something that's included in the community design for all action or for all ages action, but it's just something to keep in mind in terms of potential, strategies and tactics for moving forward. And another thing is building codes, but that's grayed out because in New Jersey, that's determined by state building code. So municipalities don't have all that much jurisdiction over that aspect. So as I go through this and describe a little bit about it, the community design for all ages action does strive to meet municipalities where they are in terms of providing a range of opportunities to effectuate change in these different areas where there is a framework already for having some policy change. So as I said, just briefly, the way that it works is that municipalities will designate a green team, and the green team will carry out these actions that are laid out in the Sustainable Jersey program. And the green team, to do this, will partner with other groups in the community, elected and appointed officials, municipal staff, professionals, other committees, regional, locally, state. So the green team is sort of like the head on this, but there's a lot of partnership and a lot of folks involved, including members of the community. So in terms of what to do for this action and how it's laid out, there are two main or basic approaches to completing it. One is to, choose from sort of a menu of different options, lists of things that in terms of that policy framework, but also in terms of sort of community organizing and, getting community engagement through surveys and things like that, and also administering an age-friendly initiative. So a whole suite of actions, whether it's from getting started to kind of working on an existing initiative or really moving into implementation with ordinance changes, for example. So picking any one of those is one way to go about this. Another way is to say, okay, we're going to do the whole thing, going to go through a whole process and do many of those components to develop an implementation plan. And from there, go on to move into implementing actions. I'm not going to go through this list, but this is just showing, what is included in the action itself. So that it provides a lot of guidance. There's templates and checklists and examples and resources for, going through each of these that are listed out as action components for a municipality to pursue. Also available is any action that's been identified through a plan as well. So they aren't sort of bound to this list, but can do, what works for them as well. And so just want to point out a great thing about the Sustainable Jersey program is that in order to sort of keep status in the program, keep the points that they've earned, a municipality can't necessarily keep resubmitting the same action or the same materials or documents for the resubmission in subsequent rounds. To maintain their status, it really pushes them to begin implementing things. So if you've kind of identified some things, or you've proposed actions, the next time you have to submit what you've done to move forward with that. And these could be things like changes to ordinances or the master plan or physical features in the built environment or programs as well. So these are generally the things that would be identified in an age-friendly land use action plan. And sorry, I skipped to one little slide. So, just in closing, having the community design for all ages action in the Sustainable Jersey program provides a framework for municipalities to engage in an age-friendly initiative and to address some of those bigger issues, those policy issues, of local policy issues around housing and transportation, or access to social engagement, or individual autonomy, the built environment and the programs and opportunities and access to things really determine a lot of, the livability for all ages in the community. So these are issues that are associated with an ageist, ageist environments and community design. So it's really about providing those opportunities for all of us to age in community through, systemic changes at the local level. So in terms of getting started, recommendation is to kind of see if your community has a green team, connect the green team with the age-friendly ambassador in the community. If there's not a green team, kind of speak to folks at the municipality, maybe the environmental commission or leadership, about how they could get into the Sustainable Jersey program, and look at the action requirements. So it is does have standards, and there's criteria that need to be submitted for completing these actions. So to maintain that, sort of quality of the program, there are action requirements. And so take a look at those for the different components and decide which component to pursue. And of course, reach out and get assistance from myself or from Ann Heasly as well, who is with the Sustainable Jersey program. And with that, I am going to stop sharing and see if there are any questions. I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. So Arlene.
Yes, this looks great as far as planning and a road to implementation. My issue is hearing loss. Personally, I'm deaf. I use cochlear implants to hear, and I am the past president of the Hearing Loss Association of New Jersey and author of books on hearing loss. The two accessible accommodations that people with hearing loss need and are generally considered universal access or captioning and assistive listening systems, and the assistive listening system of choice or induction loops, where you don't need extra equipment if your hearing aids and cochlear implants have T-coils. But in general, your public programs rarely have captioning, and your public spaces don't have any assistive listening systems, even other kinds where looping is the preferred. So what I'm getting at is that there should be best practices for hearing loss included in some of the information in this setup, this program. It's not your fault. It's universally misunderstood about what is needed for hearing loss, which is why I always like to be in the room. I've been doing this for 30 plus years since the ADA. And the ADA is totally ignored for people with hearing loss. And 50% of people over 75 have hearing loss, have no idea what to do about it, probably can't afford a hearing aid, Medicare doesn't cover it. So that's the issue that I see. It's not as criticism, it's really for let's work together and get this on the radar, because there are people with hearing loss are not going to be your advocates for it because they don't know. They're, even at best, their hearing aid dealer will not tell them anything more than what's in their hearing aid. So yeah, it comes to programs like this to be the educator and the facilitator. So with that, I'm happy to assist. You know, I know this time is short here. You know, I see Mary Eileen in another box here, and we've worked very, very collaboratively in the arts community. And they are really the ones that are forging ahead in New Jersey. So that's a great resource as well. They really do get it. Everything they do is captioned. And also assisted listening. And they started doing induction looping. So, you know, the arts always seems to be the leaders. So we have great people in New Jersey. So let's just do it. Thank you.
Great. And I see a question about whether there be access to the slides, which would probably help to make the information more accessible. And I do believe that the organizers are posting the slides, but if not, my email is in the chat, and you know, you can definitely email me for the slides or for more information as well. So Emily.
Great job, Tanya. That was really fantastic. And Arlene, thank you so much for that information too. I'm very interested in deaf culture, and so it's good to know. I never heard of induction looping. So, but Tanya, I wanted to ask you, what do you think the time commitment for say that point person who is going to be on the green team or leading the green team, what would you say is maybe an average or a median of the amount of time commitment that would be required?
Well, that's a great question. And so it really depends, because we really wanted this to be super flexible in terms of what can be done in this program. So it really depends which component is being pursued, right? So if it's the full, you know, implementation plan, you're going to start with kind of pulling together a core team to work on this. You're going to do data evaluation of demographics and other information. You're going to do a survey or focus groups and/or focus groups. You're going to do the actual land use assessment. You're going to do an implementation plan. All of that would take about a year to kind of probably get through a whole process, maybe 6-9 months, but to get to the implementation plan, because you really want to factor in enough time to bring along the municipal leadership in this, because what we're talking about are things that are going to require municipal participation, support, resources, and policy as well. And then also the time to really engage the community, right? So it's really about that partnership. So you need to build the trust. You need to sort of, you know, you can go through tasks in, you know, in a time period, but this is also about, you know, probably a bit of a culture shift in the community, about building up the trust and the initiative within the community and from the community as well.
And that green team, those are volunteer positions, right? These aren't hired or paid through a grant?
Correct. And they usually include community members, representatives of the legislative body, maybe probably planning board member, environmental community, so members of committees, members of boards, and sometimes professionals, planners, engineers, maybe. So they're, you know, maybe 10 people that it's intersectional and includes community members, municipal staff, and representatives.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and so that's another point, that all of these things, there may be some consultant costs if you're doing a land use assessment, or you're changing an ordinance, writing an ordinance, there's consultant costs associated. But it is a way to be able to kind of work through this without